What's going on, rock stars? Thank you for putting up with the delay in that. For those of you listening live, welcome to the 1% Life Show. I'm your host, peak performance coach and trainer, Joanie Dillon. And today we're talking about how to create the unconventional life of your dreams. Your life is not what you want it to be because you have not allowed yourself to yet dream and to be free of other people's expectations of you. We're going to talk about it today on the 1% Life Show. If you're listening to us live on the Facebooks, drop a 1. If it's your first time listening to the show, and welcome in. If you have been a repeat listener and you come in and tune in every single day, Monday through Friday, every afternoon, every evening, wherever you are in the world, drop a 2 below, and hello to you as well. Thank you for joining us and being such a loyal listener to the show. For those of you listening to us on one of our podcasting platforms, thank you for being here. And please do us a favor. If you get value, when you get value from today's show, please leave us a star rating, preferably a 5-star rating, and share this out. Leave us a review, and definitely connect the show to people in your life who you believe will get value from it. So Rockstar, what are we talking about this today for? And specifically, how can this benefit you in your life right now? So I want to take you back a couple years, first of all. Those of you who've been following me on Instagram, at Joanie Dillon, you've been watching well, this is not a couple years ago, this is actually right up until now. You've been listening to and following my stories, Instagram stories about my RV trip across the country, coast to coast. And you may be wondering, well, it looks like you're back at home, Joanie. And yes, that is true. I had to fly out of Montana yesterday to come watch my dog for a few days, and when duty calls, right? And I'm going back to Montana in about 5 days, and I'll be there next Tuesday to finish out this coast-to-coast trip. Super excited about it, and that's kind of provoked my thoughts and a lot of the things going on in my head right now about what it means to create your 1% life and why so many people never create their 1% life. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with those words and what specifically that means a life that is unique to you, that version of your life that is just maybe right now a dream for you. So Alexa's very opportune time of talking to me right now, telling me to stretch and drink some water or whatever else she said. But nonetheless, I digress. Let's get back here. And so many people have this vision of what life could be, but they don't quite allow themselves to dream, to take it to another level, and to really begin to manifest that life into existence. And so when I talk about your 1% life, what that means is, most people are they get up, they go to work, they come home, they pay bills. They get up, go to work, come home, and pay bills. And that's the cycle of their life. If they're lucky, they take a vacation once a year. It's kind of pathetic, and that's my opinion. So, and maybe you agree. If you agree, definitely let us know in the chat that you agree that it's a little pathetic, and you may be even living that life right now, and you see and know and understand and feel that maybe it's pathetic for you because you have higher expectations of yourself. And that's okay, because the first step in changing it and beginning to create your 1% life is to become aware that you're living the life of 99% of the others in the world, which is just that, not one of your dreams, okay? So back in 2009, I was working a business that I was tied to. I was working a business that was actually on the verge of going under, and the economy had hit. I do not see the world and life and business and things like I see it now. And so I was at the effect of the economy. I was at the effect of what was happening to my business. And so as my business began to collapse, quickly, mind you, quickly, I started also simultaneously finding myself in the world of self-development. I stumbled into a company. It was a network marketing company. They didn't call themselves an MLM. They called themselves we are a direct sales company. And in that period of time, I spent $26,000 that within the next few months to be a part of this company, where I was able to learn how to begin the process of mastering my mind so that I could create really what I didn't know at the time, but the life of my dreams. And as I began to really take in this world of what does it mean to create your life as opposed to having your life, create you. And when I started to really dive into this world of mind mastery and putting out into the universe what I wanted to start beginning that life that to create that life that I so dreamt of and wanted and yearned to have, was when I realized that I was tied to my business. I had a factory here in Seattle where we employed over 100 different seamsters and seamstresses, and they would be sewing our clothing that we would ship all over the world. I made high-end dog clothing. For those who don't know, we shipped it all over the world. And so I had this business that, while it was great and it was incredible and quickly collapsing, I had people and employees and team and things that were bound to a specific location. So it just so happened during that period of time that I realized I needed to search for a job because I wasn't able to spend the $75K 3-4 times a year to put, coats on other people's dogs. They just wanted to have dinner at night. They didn't want to have their dog pay the $100+ to put a coat on their dog. So I found myself in the world of selling timeshare. And when I was selling timeshare, I knew from the beginning, I started to really wrap my head around, I was seeing all of these entrepreneurs who were working their businesses online from this other company I had joined. And it started to get me to think bigger, beyond what was directly in front of me. And I began to say, well, what would life look like if I had a business I could run from anywhere in the world? What would life look like if I didn't have to be tied to my factory or tied to my home here in Seattle that I paid a mortgage on? What would life look like if I could travel the world whenever I wanted to? And I began to incorporate little things like that into my life, such as while I was selling timeshare and I was really good at it, I kind of put my foot down and I said, look, I am going to take time off, and I'm going to take a lot of time off. And every single year from September to June, I took a minimum of 1 week to 3 weeks off every year, which ended up being a total of 16 weeks a year that I would take off. And I still came in number one. I still, had an awesome career working about 25 hours a week, 30 hours on a really tough week, right? I was usually home by 1:30 to 2 p.m. Pretty amazing, right? Making multiple 6 figures a year and traveling, 4 months of the year. So that was my life. And yet I began to feel unfulfilled personally, because I wanted to travel more. I wanted to do more. I wanted to create a bigger impact in the world. And I knew for me, it was so fulfilling, this career that I had. In fact, so many of my clients are still in that industry. And yet I knew that I wanted to create a bigger impact in the world. I didn't quite know what it was. So when I decided to leave that business and begin my own coaching business, all I knew was this one thing. I was different, and I wanted my life and my business to be different than a brick and mortar that was stuck in one location that I had to go to every single day. So now that business, my dog clothing business, was kind of, wrapping up, and we were selling through inventory and it was closing down. By 2015, it was done. But by that time, I was like, okay, so what if I could work my business from anywhere in the world? That was my intention, right? See, here's what happens with society. See, as we grow up, we listen to a lot of what society says. Maybe you agree, right? As you're growing up, your parents are like, my parents specifically, going to college, you're getting straight A's all the way through high school. There's no question about that, Joanie, and you're going to college and you have zero say in the matter. Like, it wasn't even a question to not go to college. And which I was there. Okay, I'm going to college, and then I'm going to go to grad school at some point, and my parents wanted me to be a doctor. I'm like, Mom, there's no way in hell that's happening. I'm not being a doctor. You got your doctor, my older sister. You have your engineer. I am not that person, right? And so when I fought for, what I didn't quite know I wanted, I'd always known that I had been an entrepreneur since I was a child. I used to drag my parents to those hotel meetings and, where they'd be talking about buying, maybe some of you recall, shopping carts and reselling them. Like, you could buy 100 shopping carts for this number of dollars and resell it. And I was like, Dad, we can do this. I remember saying that, like those real estate flipping stuff and homes and all that stuff and buying, Carlton Sheets things and spending my money that I would get from doing chores on that kind of activity and learning how to be an entrepreneur, or at least dreaming about it when I was young. And And so I always had this vision of what it would look like to work for myself. And that's not the point of this show today. The point of the show is, how can we begin to think in an unconventional way? Because that in itself was unconventional. People didn't go buy grocery carts and resell them. People didn't go, learn how to do those kinds of things, buy and sell things at a young age, or even as adults, right, for that matter. A very small percentage of the population would even think like that. They would think that they needed to go to work and have a job with a salary that was fixed, and that was the way things were. And while that's good, how much freedom does that give you? How much freedom does that truly give you if you were locked into a fixed salary? So then, of course, when I left the job, for many, the job of their dreams, who, if you were good at it, like I was, you were making incredible income. The money was never an object. I could buy whatever pretty much I wanted. Maybe not like a Bugatti, but like I could buy whatever I wanted. I had the home that I loved, and everything was good. Until there was this thing that was calling me to play a bigger game, to stop making my company millions of dollars and to start making that for myself, to start creating an impact in the world that was beyond a product specifically. So when I started to think, okay, and I quit pretty cold turkey, like I had what I thought was an option, a network marketing company I was going to transition into. I quickly learned it wasn't for me, specifically just for me. At that time, that company was not for me. And I started to think bigger. All I knew was this was my motto. Like, my dream is to work from the cafes of Paris to the beaches of Bali. That was my dream. Who would think that they could do that, right? Very few people. And I wanted to work from my laptop that I'm literally working from right now. And for those of you who have been following me over my journey the last couple of weeks, going coast to coast, flew from Seattle to Atlanta, Georgia with my partner. We hopped in an RV a few days later, and we've been traveling around the country, across the country. And I've literally been working my business from the front passenger seat of the RV every single day while we drove, plugged in, drove. Like, we just drove. That was what we did. And that's working your business from anywhere in the world, right? And I mean, we had gone from, where did we go? Georgia to, I can't even remember, Tennessee the first night, then to Missouri, got to see my assistant, Becky, in Missouri. That was incredible and amazing to see her. Then we went through, and forgive me if these are the wrong orders of operation that we went through. Some of you were like, that state's not connected to that state. Okay, that's probably true. So from Missouri, we went to like Kansas, and went from Kansas to Kentucky, I think, and then Kentucky, Kansas, it could be that. And we've just been going all over. And then Wyoming eventually, through Illinois, Wyoming, Montana. I flew home for a few days now. Literally, my doggy's daddy couldn't watch Diego for 4 or 5 days. Like, perfect. Well, not perfect. You become flexible, behavioral flexibility. We talk about it in this podcast. Hopped on a plane, bought my first class ticket home, drinking session beer the whole way home, because thank God they served something other than nothing. And that was kind of fun. And now I'm here working for the next few days, going to hop back on a plane, go back out to Montana, meet my partner. We're going to finish the leg of the tour all the way back to Seattle. So that is not a conventional life. Would you agree? Most people don't even think about working their business from the road. They don't think about how to create that life on the road. And they don't think about how can they do this. So here's another thing that happened. A couple years ago, I was at an event of this amazing rock star who, she's a speaker. She has a book called Future Boards. In fact, I think it's somewhere in front of me. Her name's Sarah Centrella. And Sarah Centrella, at her event in Portland, Oregon, I got to meet this young lady who was talking about, I don't know how young she was, but she had 3 children. And I said, well, what would the life of your dreams look like if anything were possible? And she started talking about, well, I really want to travel the world more. I really want to get out there and see the world. I've not been doing that. I said, well, let's talk about what stopped you from doing it. The coaching me, I'm like, I'm always coaching people through things. And she says, well, I have 3 kids. Listen to that statement right there. Well, I have 3 kids. So in her mind, what that implied was that I cannot travel because I have 3 kids. Now, do you believe that to be true? Do you believe that to be true? And some of you may say, yes, that is true. I have 3 kids and I'm not able to travel like I like. Others of you may be saying, no, that's just a story in her mind. And that was the first thing that came to me was, Well, of course you can't travel because you have 3 kids, because you believe you cannot travel, right? And it's the stories we tell ourselves that keep us in the proverbial box of being stuck, right? Of feeling like we cannot do the thing that we truly desire. And it has to do with societal norms, expectations from those around us. It was hard for me to tell my mom that I was not going to be a doctor. It was hard for me to tell my mom I wasn't even going to be a lawyer or a dentist or, an engineer. I was not. I hated math. I was good. I was quote unquote not good. I freaking worked hard at it because I had Indian parents. You can't come home with a B, right? So it wasn't fun for me. I told them I was going into graphic design and they were like, what the hell is that? And then it was like, well, no, I'm not doing that. No, I'm going to force myself to grad school because that was what you did when the economy had gone under for my dad, right? Oh, I guess I'll go get that degree they so want me to have. And then it was like, oh, well, business that I was starting and growing and doing really well at, selling dog coats, unconventional, as an Indian girl growing up in this country. Well, now that's going under. And so I'm going to go sell timeshare. Dad, mom had since passed. What? Timeshare? Who the hell does that? What is that? But I'm going to do it well. I promise you. Right? So there's so many things that if we adhere to expectations of others around us and what they want for us and how they think it's possible and it's not. You never do the thing. So how do you begin now to create the unconventional life of your dreams? How do you begin to do that? Because it doesn't happen overnight, does it? It does not. It takes, the first thing that I believe that it takes is it takes you to begin to allow yourself the ability to dream, the opportunity to dream. It's called an opportunity to dream because you can also choose not to dream. And that's what most people do. They get up, go to work, come home, pay bills, and they might even have a not so fun evening with their significant other. They get up and family yelling at people because they're bringing all the stress home. Get up, go to work, come home, pay bills, look forward to their weekend. What? Is that a life to look forward to Friday so that you can go back to work on Monday and you don't even have enough time to live? I think it sounds miserable to me personally. That's my interpretation, that it sounds a little bit miserable. Now, do we need people in the world to live Monday through Friday jobs? Of course, there are plenty of jobs out there that need that. And if you're happy doing that, by no means am I telling you to not. Okay? I want you to understand that. However, if you believe that you are destined for more, if you believe that you are capable of more, if you believe that you are, this is the big one, worthy of more. When you believe that you are, let me say that again. When you believe that you are worthy of more, you begin to think of more. And you begin to think outside of the box. I was thinking jar and box at the same time. You cannot read the label of the jar when you're inside the jar. You cannot think outside of the box when your head keeps butting against the box. And I want to tell you a story about my friends, the Unstoppable family. You may have heard of them if you've been following me or listening to me for any length of time. And I recorded an episode with them, an interview, episode 52 on the 1% Life podcast. By the way, for those of you who are listening to this, before I forget, I have to say this because I've been forgetting the last few days. If you want the blueprint to begin to create your 1% life, we have it for you. And we're going to show you it, and we're going to take you through it. And it's called the Create Your 1% Life Challenge. It begins very soon. It becomes very soon. And you can go learn more about it at the1%life.com. The number one, %life.com/start. We'll drop it in the chat and the comments as well. The1%life.com, and it's the number one /start. And you can join us on this experience where I'm literally going to be taking you through all the things that you need to begin competing at the level of, living that 1% life and creating that for you. So we're going to give you a blueprint, a very clear roadmap, a very clear blueprint for 10 days. So we're excited to have you join us in that, for those of you who are ready and want more guidance on how to get there. And so I want to talk to you about my friends, the Unstoppable family. The Unstoppable family, 11 years ago, they were victims to a real estate scam, right? And whoever they trusted to do something and help them buy this properties, they then got all their friends and family involved, or a lot of them involved, and ended up realizing the guy was a total scammer, and it was hell. Like overnight, pretty much had nothing to their name. They were forced to sell, and you can hear the entire story on episode 52 of the 1% Live podcast. They were forced to sell everything they had, their $1 million homes, all their cars, beautiful cars. You know, Rhonda was an executive at a pharmaceutical company, Brian, a robotics engineer. So here's the blessing in this. Just a few months prior, she had started to learn how to build a business online. She had started to learn how. So she'd started making a little bit of money. But the day they decided, they looked at each other and they said, what are we gonna do? We have a newborn baby. She's almost, kind of newborn, less than a year old. How are we gonna make it through this? We have like nothing now, living in this beautiful home in San Diego to having nothing. And they looked at each other and they said, well, we can't do this. We can't do this. We have to have a different plan. So they packed up and they started traveling the world. They literally left San Diego with like $11,000, if I remember correctly. And they have never gone back since. This is 11 years later. And they began to create their unconventional life, their 1% life, traveling the world. They have, I don't even know how many countries they've lived in. I know personally, I've been with them to Panama, spent a month with them in Panama. Tahoe, when they were in the States, we were snowboarding. Amsterdam, Belgium, we've been to France, we've been to the Canary Islands where they lived. I'd go out and fly and see them. This is part of my taking time off every year or every month in my old job. We've been all over. There's other places too, I just can't think of right now. And so they went and started living 1 to 3 months in different locations, renting homes and working their business from the beaches of the world. They both surfed at the time, and they were raising a 1-year-old daughter who is now just turned 13. So this was almost like 12 years ago. And the other unconventional side of this is they decided, this is crazy this for some people to hear this, but it's a thing now in many circles and communities around the world where people begin to think about educating children differently because, they disagree with how the education system is working. And I'm not giving an opinion on that right now, but what I am saying is that they decided that we want to educate our child and we want to let her create the experiences of her life. And so they decided, and you'll be able to hear more about this on the episode, that they were going to pull her out of school. She was being bullied about a year and a half ago. They pulled her out of school, but every time they traveled somewhere, she would join a different school for all those years. They'd find the best schools they could. And she got to learn just beautiful gifts of packing up and making new friends. And we'll go back and we'll see those old friends sometimes, but sometimes there was a season for them, right? They were there. And with social media, you can keep your friends in many ways, right? So it's just such a beautiful way of thinking about life. Like, what is your 1% life? What does that look like for you? And for me, my partner and I right now, I've recently entered into a new relationship, and we have been dreaming. He and I made him take a course after I took it with Sarah Centrella I took it about a month ago, and he since took it, where we're dreaming about creating a future beyond what we had ever thought of. And so now we were just in Montana yesterday calling real estate agents, we'll be looking at land when I get back there, and building a retreat center where we can do spiritual work and transformation work with individuals and couples from around the world who will fly in to our beautiful retreat center. We're going to build a home on it. It's going to be overlooking mountains. We're going to have running water. So we need that to create what he wants, which is a permaculture farm, living off the land. I'm totally turning into a hippie. For those of you who know me, like you kind of already are one. Just throw on your fancy shoes every once in a while. And so, but like, who would have thought this city girl could leave Seattle and move out to the very rural parts of Montana? Who would have thought that? I know none of my friends would ever expect that of me, and I wouldn't have even expected that of me. But because I have created an unconventional business where I'm able to, and he has one too, or we're both able to coach people from our laptops anywhere in the world. We just did it as we were on our RV. There's so many unconventional people in my life. I just love it. A year ago, he quit on July 4th. He set out, picked up his beautiful luxury motor coach, 35-foot long motor coach, which we rode in, and he'd been traveling the country for the past year. Now, no kids, just a dog, but which is his kid, and has been living that life. Now he's ready to put roots down again. So we're going to have the motor coach, and we're going to go where we want, when we want. But we'll also have our home in Montana and our homes in Cyprus and other parts of the world. So Rockstar, how do you do this? Like, these are so many examples of creating an unconventional life. And maybe, see, for a lot of you, it's like you have this dream or you have this passion in you to do something more, but you just don't know how to manifest that more. What does it look like to create a life outside of a fixed job, for example, if that's something that you'd want to do? The first thing I would say is begin to believe that it's possible. Because I don't care what you do, your passion is in something. Your passion, your heart lies within something. And that's something that you have passion in, you can learn how to monetize it. And what do I mean by that? To get people to pay you for it so that you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, and create impact in the world. See, ultimately, if you're doing it for money, you're not going to create the impact that you choose. You're not going to create the lifestyle you choose. Let me say that first. And the impact won't be had because you're not looking for impact. But if you put the impact first, I want to help more people. I want to help people break through their limiting, beliefs that are keeping them stuck and playing under a ceiling. Well, that's mine, right? Like, I know that people are suffering and stuck in this world because of the thinking that's happening in their mind. So I set out, my business has evolved a lot, right? Like, we help people become the top 1% of any industry that they're in. And the only thing stopping them from doing that, from being the top, I believe, if you're going to do something, why be average at it, right? Kick some serious butt at it and be awesome and set an example of, what it means to perform, what it means to do well at what you do, to give back in a big way, and to just operate at a total excellence daily. Like, that excites me. Do you see me, for those of you watching me live on my page, you see how I light up over that, right? That excites me. There's so much mediocrity in this world. There's so much average in this world. There's so many people just playing below what their capability. Why? We can set new standards of excellence for ourselves. We can set new standards of operation. We can set new standards of what is acceptable to us and to you. But you got to decide that you are capable of more and that you're meant for more in order to begin creating your 1% life. So Rockstar, if you'd like the blueprint in how to do this, I am so excited to release our new program, Create Your 1% Life Challenge. It's a 10-day challenge. It will blow your minds. It will blow your mind. Join us at the1percentlife.com/start, the number 1percentlife.com/start. And if you got value in this, please share this out and leave us a 5-star rating if you got value, and a review if you're listening to us on the podcast channels, stations. And thank you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for dreaming bigger. Thank you for believing that you can be more and give more to this world, because, man, God knows this world needs it. And they need you to show up in your excellence. They need you to get out of your way. The world needs you to get out of your way, because if everybody got out of their way and they started truly creating a life of excellence, a life of vision, a life of impact, a life of, man, how can I give more by being more? This would be a beautiful world to live in. Rockstar, to your unstoppable success, get out there and change some lives today. You truly deserve it. Peace.